Chris Whalen CPA is back. Chris, we are talking today about maybe a topic that not a lot of people are necessarily paying attention to with bated breath, but you seem to think they should. This is an article from Juro AI for legal documents in 2024, use cases, tools, and more. And it goes through how AI can, here it is, transform the way businesses manage their legal documents and essentially spins it as a very positive thing that AI could be your next lawyer, could be drafting documents, could be helping argue your case. And what's the long term effect on the judicial system if, say, I think everybody could agree, whether you like the bias or not, that AI is not a perfect tool and that it tends to run with a particular bias. We already have issues with the judicial system and law right now in the United States. So I think it's a big topic that maybe you could tell us why the average person like me, who's running around with two young kids and a crazy farm to deal with, why should we even care about this topic?
Well, words are important. So the word in that sentence was manage. So yes, we've used AI tools for 40 or 50 years in a sense to manage, to sort documents, to search documents of our own for words or phrases. So manage is great. I want to manage, I use AI to manage my database of clients, my tax returns, of course. So the difference is I want to use AI to help me do my job with research or sorting things or managing, but I don't want AI to create a document from scratch. That's the difference here. We can use it as a research tool. We've used the internet as a research tool forever. So we don't want a lawyer creating a whole document just by putting in a couple of terms to chat GPT. That's the difference.
All right, why? Why does it matter? If it can
Well,
do
because
if
well,
it
it
can do
depends
the
how.
the
Because
little
I'm
work,
sorry.
why can't it do the big work?
Well, because it's all. First of all, we have to understand where does AI like ChatGPT go? Everyone assumes it's the internet, that information is curated and checked and vetted. It's not true. It really goes out to a landfill of data that relates to your topic. You could put in a will, and you might want to have a contract of sale for a business or a home. So remember, there's no way for it to really know what information it's pulling together for you and creating this document. Plus, it's human nature. If I let ChatGPT create a 30-page document for me, let's say it's a sale of a business, I really need to check every line as if I did it from scratch, but it's human nature to not do that. So you have to remember what are the sources of data and information that these AIs are pulling from. And a lot of times it's really the Wild West. So that's the mistake people make. They think it's a computer, they think we're entering terms in a screen. We think we're going to get back something that's really, really beneficial and will serve our needs. When really an attorney should be doing line by line the documents, the contracts that are going to be subject to local, state, and federal law. ChatGPT doesn't care about that.
If people want to get a hold of you, Chris, they can go to chriswhalencpa.com. They can read your memos and follow your podcast and get more information like this and call you, and you take clients. So if you're looking for Chris to do your taxes or whatever else, handle your massive legal documents that are not put together by AI, then feel free to get a hold of Chris, 732-673-0510. Chris, in your memo here, you call it a disturbing trend. Why is
Right.
it disturbing? So far, I haven't heard what the
Well,
consequence is that we should be so worried about.
here, so let's say that there are specific laws in Michigan that relate to a contract of sale for a business. It's very, very hard for an AI to know that and to incorporate it in all the places it needs to be. Remember, contracts are different all over the country, every different state, every different locality. So it's really a generic form you're going to get at the end of the day, and it really can't incorporate what your specific needs are within your location. And so just to go back to your question, why would someone like you be concerned? Well, you're a business owner. So what if you have a contract that a lawyer makes for, let's say, licensing? I'm going to license your show. We're going to syndicate it. Fantastic. But what happens if the contract is not correct per Florida law? Right? So then the person that you've engaged with in the contract can negate the contract and void it because the wording is not exactly right. L- Legal documents must be extremely specific and extremely correct because one part could negate all of it. And that's what I'm trying to warn people about. We have to make sure they ask their attorney, Yes, we understand you're using computers and AI for research, but I want you to guarantee me you're not having documents created from scratch using a search engine or an AI. That's what I urge my clients to do.
Okay, how does this practice affect an area of law that I discuss quite a bit, which is civil liberties? Say, for instance, the family I had on Monday who had to go to court to have a hospital administer a particular drug to their family member that was very controversial. And there's all kinds of politics involved in that,
Right?
or constitutional rights, yeah, free speech. How does the use of AI by lawyers affect that? Before you answer the question, though, don't forget something that is not made with artificial intelligence, just a lot of intelligence, but not artificial. Grape intelligence, taste intelligence, palate intelligence, extreme intelligence is AllisonWinePromo.com. You get 50% off my favorite Malbecs from Argentina and 50% off shipping. It says experience these unique and bold extreme altitude wines from Argentina, wines unlike anything you've ever tasted before. And that is a fact. Great way to support my work. It's a great way to get grandma back on good terms after you unfriended her because, I don't know, she didn't put you in the will. You're going to learn something from Chris today about why she just used AI and it was a complete mistake. She didn't mean to leave you out of the will. It was no harm, no foul. She is going to go back to find Chris and have him redo the contract so that you will be in the will. Thank grandma for that. Go to AllisonWinePromo.com. Be an extremist. Don't go to federal prison. AllisonWinePromo.com. And thanks everybody who's already a fan. If you are not on the editorial board, AllisonMorrow.locals.com. What is wrong with you? $5 a month. You get to put in questions ahead of time for interviews. You're someone who complains in the YouTube comments about how much you hate my interviews. This is a great way to change that. You get to ask the questions. You'll get whatever you want out of the show. And you get an exclusive media analysis show once a week. Bill and I, you get farm updates and all that good stuff. $5 a month. That's like pennies on the dollar a day. So thanks everybody on the editorial board. And then finally, don't forget that I have a P.O. box. So if you're a mail type person, I love getting mail. Don't like getting creepy letters. Don't like getting anything edible because I'm thinking that you're going to try to kill me. But anything else, winning lottery ticket, pocket lint, photos of your family, you want to send a check instead of use your credit card to support the work. That's also amazing. Thanks for everybody who sent the mail. P.O. Box 3355, Denellen, Florida 34432. Okay, so Chris, what is AI and the use of
I
AI
want to
by
answer your
lawyers?
question. So,
Yeah.
what you were just talking about was going to court for something extremely consequential, right? That's what you were talking about. Civil liberties cases, could be custody cases, anything else. What if the briefs or motions that are that are being used are not done correctly for the local or regional law? And so you go to court, the judge is going to read them eventually. What happens if there's something wrong with them? They could be thrown out of court because they're not formatted correctly. So your question is a perfect example of why these things need to be created from scratch by a human being. Yes, augmented with AI and search. We could even have a library of paragraphs and sentences that relate. It's so significant, these motions and briefs and other things for court, that they need to be crafted line by line from scratch to make sure that they're very tight. The problem with AI, when you give me a 60-page document, page 20 might reference something that's completely different that doesn't align with page 55. And that's very hard for a human being to review later when you have a 60-page document. But if someone created it from scratch, then that usually will not happen. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. I think AI is one of those tools that, like you said, you're using it. How do you know where to draw the line? It's kind of controversial in the sense that, not controversial like people necessarily have the kind of emotional or political reaction, I guess, to it that some of the other topics I discussed. But it is one of those double-edged swords, I think, that some people are really anti, other people think it's great, and then other folks are kind of like, I could see a use for it. Obviously, you are using it, so you don't think it's all bad. But how do you know where to draw the line? Because what if
Well, it's
somebody
just
says
like
it's a slippery
it's a
slope?
research
Well, why
tool.
do it at
So
all?
years ago, before the internet, which I remember being an accountant, we used to have books on the Internal Revenue Code at our desk, big books. We'd look things up. So now we have that online. That's an AI. So the difference is I'm using it to supplement my work, to enhance my work. It's not doing my work. That's the only. So AI is fantastic. Instead of going to a library for documents, we have them at our fingertips online. So I'm all for AI, again, using it for sorting, for searching, managing. AI is great to manage things. But again, it's assisting me in my work. It's not doing work where then I have to double check their work. So it's very simple distinction. I love AI for what it can do. Again, I'm very much though into HI. I want human intelligence everywhere I can get instead of artificial intelligence. That's what we want. We want to make sure that human intelligence is leading the production of a document from an attorney.
What do you think about this quote? Legal teams who successfully harness the power of generative AI will have a material competitive advantage over those who don't.
It depends what depends what the definition is. I don't a generative AI, if it's going to create a document, that's too much. If it's going to give me examples of certain things, again, they could give me certain paragraphs within the law. That might be helpful. Again, that's enhancing. So let's say I'm a lawyer doing a contract of sale and I need something for selling a building and there's certain specific wording for a court case. Great. I can tell AI to get that for me from a library. Perfect. And I'm going to insert that. That's I can insert a whole paragraph from AI, but I'm guiding the process. So generative AI, I don't agree with because sometimes they're using it to create a whole document, and they're pushing for this, but again, they don't know the consequence because it's human nature to not review. If you got a 60-page document, how detailed are you going to be to review everything line by line? You're usually not. You're going to assume it's mostly correct, and of course, that can leave your clients with a big problem.
This is where I kind of brace for impact, where it says legal AI tools are capable of extracting and analyzing important data from legal documents. Some AI platforms will even generate contract summaries and contract abstracts. Let me give you an example of how this would work, say, in the news world, because newsrooms are considering using AI to break down a press release. And so the AI is going to be asked, what's in this press release? And depending on its bias for or against a hospital protocol or a big corporation or a particular political party or the government's Department of Health, all these things that I have covered over the last several years, it will break down the press release differently.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Because it's going to tell you, well, this is true or this is not based on what what it has decided is authoritative, and we all know like that's ridiculous. Doesn't mean anything on YouTube, at
Well,
least.
it's just a broad stroke. See, the problem with AI is that there's no experience, right? So you have decades of experience, so do I. So me reading a press release is there's gonna be a million times more possibilities of how I'm analyzing it based on my experience. And AI does not have that no matter what they say. So it's good for a broad stroke. Oh, give me the nouns that are in this. Tell me what the topic might be. But for someone that's like here, a good example would be there's AI that'll analyze tax returns and tell me what's in the tax return, what forms are there. But again, it's not going to tell me the nuances of how things interact, right? You could have a press release where paragraph one has something significant to say about paragraph eight, and AI doesn't pick that up. So it's good for broad stroke summaries of things. But when it comes to my work, I have to have a human being look at it with my level of experience, or else it's just a general broad stroke when that's useless for me. I live in attorneys and CPAs live in a very specific environment. We can't deal with broad strokes. It would frustrate me to no end to have that.
Say we go back in time to like when the FDA put out that press release about how you shouldn't take ivermectin because it's a horse medicine. Well, if they sent out their press release, which they did, and AI went through it and examined it, it's highly likely that the AI would have summarized it as if there was nothing wrong with what they were saying because it's written with bias towards the CDC and the FDA and their interpretations of things. And the journalists didn't do much of a better job than AI would have probably done. But that's where I think it's if you trust AI, it means to me to interpret something for you. To me, it means you live in the class of people. I'm not saying that's an economic class necessarily, maybe an intellectual class. I'm not sure, but you live in the substrata of people who are in some way in control because the AI is reflecting a controlled narrative in a lot of ways. And so if you agree with it, you're likely living in that same world. If you're one of us and you're a dissident on the outside, you distrust AI because you understand the influence that the power class has on the generation of artificial intelligence. So you don't
Okay,
trust it. And
can
I
you
think
pull
it's
up that screen?
crazy that newsrooms are.
Can you pull up that screen again
Yeah.
with the number 3?
Whoops. There you
Right.
are.
So this is another thing that I've been talking about. So this says some AI platforms will generate contract summaries. We don't want AI. I don't want my lawyer getting a contract of 100 pages and putting it through AI to get a summary. That's the problem here. I want the lawyer to read it. The lawyer
Yeah.
has the experience. The lawyer understands. So this is exactly what I'm avoiding. That's another thing to warn people about. We don't want AI to give our lawyers summaries of anything.